all of you who have invested your time in coming to our event. My name is Adelina Stefan. I'm a professional coach and I will be one of your hosts today. We will introduce ourselves later. So first of all, I would like to thank you to Coach Fernando for accepting my invitation to facilitate our workshop. And also a deep thank you to my team, especially to Coach Corina based in Romania and Coach Carmen based in Switzerland, who supported me in organizing this event and invited some of you here today. Now, for those of you who don't know me yet, just a little bit about myself. I'm an associate certified coach, an intercultural facilitator, and personal agility ambassador, and I specialize in career transition. I was born in Romania, I lived in Greece, and for the past 6 years, I'm living in Zurich, in Switzerland, with my little family. I've been in coaching and consulting for over 10 years, and as some of you may know already, I'm the founder of Advanced Talent Training and Consulting, which was founded in 2015. And as a career coach and expat myself in few countries, I have supported expatriates integrate successfully into their host culture and achieve sustainable career success. So now I would like to introduce you your facilitator, Fernando Hetiadura. He's a professional certified coach and the creator of the ICF accredited coaching training program, professional coaching mastery certification, encompassing individual, group, and team coaching. Fernando is the owner of Ignite Global, an organization dedicated to the advancement of the coaching profession. He has over 18 years experience in various capacities in such areas like education sector, corporate organizations, humanitarian development and government. And he has worked with individuals and professionals ranging from young adolescents, CEOs, and celebrities. Now I would like to pass the talking stick to Coach Fernando. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you very much, Coach Adelina. Really appreciate for the wonderful introduction. And before we begin this session today, first of all, I would like to thank all of you for being here. And we have several leaders from different organizations, individuals, as well as professional coaches joining this session today. A warm welcome to all of you, and a very special thanks to Coach Adelina Stefan from Advanced Talent Training and Consulting. It's really our honor to be present today. My name is Fernando from Ignite Global, and as we go through this journey, you probably will get to know about us a little bit more. And actually, this is a repeat workshop that is happening. The last time when we conducted this workshop, interestingly, just a few minutes before I started delivering the workshop, the power went off, electricity went off. So I had to deliver the entire session in the dark. So we also couldn't do it as a workshop. So I know that some of you attended that session and you are here today again because you probably would like to get some hands-on experience. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So this experience is going to evolve in a way that we will involve you, we will ask you some interesting questions, insights, and feel free to share them with you. As you can notice at the moment, everyone is put on mute. The reason is not to have any disturbances while the session is going on. However, we will create some breakout rooms where you can collaborate with each other and have conversations. And during those times, we will be sure to turn on the microphone so that you can collaborate with each other. Right, so today's topic is team coaching the next pinnacle of human resource development? I'm very excited to welcome all of you once again to this session live. And I would like to inform all of you that we are recording this session at the moment, and we will continue to record the entire session, and the session will be available to those who have registered publicly. So please keep that in mind. As we start, I would like to start with a quote from Khalil Gibran, who is a writer, poet, visual artist, and a philosopher. He says, "Say not I have found the truth, but rather I have found a truth." The reason why I'm sharing this with you is that the ICF team coaching competencies were introduced only 5 to 6 months ago, very recently. Although team coaching, group coaching have been creating value and impact for organizations and individuals over a very long time. The interesting thing is that if you look at where ICF team coaching today, it's almost like 2.5 decades ago where the one-on-one coaching was. The introduction of ICF team coaching competencies were made 25 years ago. Just like that, ICF has just released the team coaching competencies a few months ago. And I think at this time, there are so many things that are changing, revolutionizing, and best practices are being introduced. So some of the things that I might be sharing with you today might not be relevant or might have changed in the future, maybe in a few months or even few years. So please keep that in mind. Let us move forward. And the very first thing that I would like to check in with you is, what are common challenges faced by human resource entities? The reason is that we are talking about team coaching or group coaching, how this can add value, how these practices can add value to human resource development. So if we are adding value to certain organizations, certain units of organizations, it's important, first of all, we understand their challenges. So what I would invite you to do is grab your phone or your browser on the PC and type www.menti.com in one of the browsers, and then enter the key 17 48 29 61. And now I will start sharing my screen so that all of you can log in. Right, and then start sending us your thoughts. What are common challenges faced by human resource entities? Let's take a few minutes, and I believe that you see the screen as well while you're typing. Feel free to send in your ideas and thoughts. What are common challenges faced by human resource entities? So while we are waiting for everyone to find how to get here, open any browser, whether it's a handheld device, smartphone. Great, so we have some ideas coming through. So we have work on a budget, artificial intelligence, manage the staff. When we talk about manage the staff, it can be many different things: managing contracts, salaries, payrolls, managing relationships, managing conflicts and things like that. Recruiting, yes, it's a big problem or big challenge sometimes. Technology, burnouts, absolutely. Use of technology, AI transformation, work on budgets, engagements. Engagement is also related to, again, communication, leadership development, trainings and things like that. Equity, handling people, miscommunication, burnouts, data proficiency, retention, and so on. So if you haven't been able to open the Mentimeter for now, feel also free to send in your ideas through Zoom chat room as well. So there's a lot of ideas coming in: motivating talent, change management, manage the staff, staff retention, very, very important, review process, motivate talents, wonderful. So we start to understand and realize that there are so many wonderful professionals with wealth of knowledge in the session today, as we can see really the key points coming through with this little activity we are doing right now. Right, so feel free to keep sending these ideas, and I will share these slides with you later via email. So continuing with our discussion today. So if you're talking about becoming a pinnacle in providing solutions to human resource entities, understanding the challenges are so important. So as I was creating this presentation, one of the things I did was I looked at some of the industry giants in terms of human resource information. So I looked at Forbes, Businesstopia, BetterWorks, and Natural HR to find out what seemed to be the topmost challenges organizations are facing. And I just took few of them here. So managing relationships, conflict resolution, retention of employees, leadership development, resource for training and development, hiring for diversity. These are some of the very top information or top challenges that I have found out using these different platforms. So today we are going to focus on some of these things. Now, having said that, we will have two components in this experience. One is we will talk a little bit about an introduction to team coaching, group coaching, understanding what is a team, what is a group, what is a working group, what is an effective team, what is a real team, ideas like that. And then we will try to relate some of the team coaching competencies directly to the challenges that we have found out that are faced by human resource development entities. So this is the idea. Let us begin. So the question is team coaching the next pinnacle of human resource development? So if we think, or if we assume team coaching is the next pinnacle of human resource development, I would like to use this analogy. It would almost be like being able to take the steering wheel of supporting the human resource units as the partner who will help them to develop their employees and help them to solve their problems and add value to them. So the real question we are answering today is, can we as team coaches, team development specialists, can we take the steering wheel and help organizations grow and solve their challenges and problems that are in the human resource development arena? So as we begin, one of the very important things that we should do is to identify and understand what is group coaching and what is team coaching. So let us do just that. The reason being, I understand that some of you may have experience as group coaches and team coaches. Reading through some of your comments that you provided while registering for this session today, I realized that some of you are absolutely new to even to the coaching profession. So we are going to look at the definitions a little bit at the beginning, and those who are experienced, please hold on for a few, some parts of this experience today. Right, so when we talk about what is group coaching, it's quite easy to understand. The idea is that a group of individuals who are sharing a common interest, a learning experience, skill, or a goal come together and work with a coach. As you know, professional coaches in the industry definition, what we do is help catalyzing the progress development of these individuals who come together. So we help these individuals to develop themselves through group support, inspiration, learning that is created during the group coaching, and then them being able to maximize their potential and then achieve their goals. Now, something very important for us to keep in mind is that when we talk about group coaching, the achievements are made independently. In other words, every individual who would be in the group coaching session would be achieving their goals or working towards their goals individually. Now, the interesting thing here is that if you look at an example, let's say a group of people who are developing a new business, it's almost like a business incubator. So new entrepreneurs coming together, working with a coach. These individuals, each entrepreneur may have a different business that they're developing. One might be talking about fintech, someone else might be talking about public relations. It doesn't really matter. In the context of coaching, what is really important is that they support each other and gain inspiration from each other's exploration in terms of developing a business. So this is what group coaching is on a general sense. And then the next important question is to also learn what is team coaching. Team coaching is very straightforward. So it's about partnering and co-creating in a reflective environment to understand dynamics of the team, dynamics of the entity that we are working with, and also working on the relationships to maximize their abilities and potential so that they actually together can serve a common purpose or achieve a shared goal. This is the idea about team coaching. So when we talk about team coaching, if you take a human resource entity, for an example, they could be considered as a team. If you talk about a sales team, we can consider them as a team. Or if you talk about a space mission, a couple of people, astronauts working together to achieve a space mission, they can be considered as a team. So the main difference between group coaching and team coaching, in the group environment, everyone is achieving their goal independently. And in the team environment, the collective efforts of the individuals is what make them achieve their goal. In other words, collectively they achieve the goal. Just to simplify this a little bit, let us look at this beautiful smart women 2018. This is Miss Universe pageant, if I'm not mistaken. And as you can see, all of these beautiful, wonderful individuals come together, work together. At the end of the day, however, they all need to achieve their goal, which is winning of this pageant individually. Not everyone collectively win the entire competition. During the process of their pageant, probably they receive a lot of grooming, a lot of coaching, a lot of etiquette training and things like that. Now, which almost is like coaching, group coaching, where they learn and develop through the inspiration created among each other. However, there's only one person potentially can win at the end of the day. And on the other hand side, if you look at FIFA World Cup, this is the 2018 finals. As you can see, the team wins together. All their collective efforts result in a collective achievement. So when we talk about a team, it's important that the goal is finally achieved by the collective efforts of everyone in the team. I think this helps you understand the difference between group coaching and team coaching. Now, here are some things that we need to keep in mind as we are progressing through this experience today. Now, when we talk about ICF core competencies for one-on-one coaching, these competencies, the 8 new competencies, are not adequate for us to deliver coaching as a group coach or a team coach, especially as a team coach. There are 29 additional ICF team coaching competencies that needs to be thoroughly studied and thoroughly experienced, and also gain experience by delivering them in order for us to create the development of a team. So this brings us to the understanding. I have been asked by many organizations to come in as a team coach. And when I go in, sometimes they have hired one-on-one coaches earlier and things did not move in the direction that they expected, or the development did not take place in the way that they expected. The reason being, most one-on-one coaches need to go through that development before they actually position themselves as a certified team coach. So most of the time, we even have to clear up sometimes the mess. And also from the other side, other end of the equation, which is the human resource entities or organizations, it's also important that we hire a team coach who has the proper certification before you hire that person into the team environment to make sure that you receive the best value. Another important thing to keep in mind is a very big difference between one-on-one coaching and team coaching is that in one-on-one coaching, we do not provide solutions. But in team coaching, team coach takes a more directive approach, to the extent sometimes even providing certain solutions, of course, with the permission as well as informing the HR unit and the sponsor as well as the team. Another important thing that we need to keep in mind is that when we work with the team, not individuals in the team are considered as the client. Instead, we look at every single individual together as a team as the client. Another important thing to remember is that in team coaching, we also use a co-coach, apart from the lead coach or lead team coach who is in the session. We will talk a little bit more about it in a minute. Another interesting thing to remember is that ICF is at the moment creating a separate designation for team coaches to be presented in the future, and this would come with almost a similar structure to how our credentials at the moment, ACC, PCC, MCC works. There will be differences, of course, but I believe that they would follow the same path in terms of developing these designations. So coaches, if you are thinking about becoming a team and group coach and then also increasing your credibility, it is great that you start preparing yourself for these credentials starting from now. Now, if you're wondering where is group coaching, if we were to look at one-on-one coaching being one of the spectrum and team coaching being one of the spectrum, group coaching tends to fall closer to one-on-one coaching. However, this is not a mathematically accurate slide. This is just an idea. So if you are a one-on-one coach, you may be able to conduct group coaching more effectively. And if you're a team coach, you will be able to conduct group coaching very effectively because you have high level of skills in terms of delivering team and group coaching together. Right, so another interesting question that we should ask right now is, what are different types of groups? So may I invite you to send some ideas through the Zoom chat. What do you think are different types of groups? Okay, so here are some ideas coming through. We have squads, work product teams, leadership teams, absolutely. And there's a very good question coming from Coach Britta. Please keep sending the questions as we are having this discussion. Is the Coach Britta is asking, is the co-coach a requirement or a recommendation? This is a very good question. I would say this is a recommendation, and we will also discuss why it is recommended. You will be able to see the importance of having a co-coach. So there are so many ideas coming through: entrepreneurs, interest groups, communities, many ideas, wonderful ideas. Keep the ideas coming through. I'm going to share with you two commercially or business-wise important two types of groups. Let us look at them. All right. The first one is external groups. Like most of the things that you were talking about or you were sending in through the Zoom chat are external groups. For example, business incubator, public speaking club, where many people who are keen on developing their public speaking skills come together and working together. Now, this we call external groups. And then there's another important type of groups where they belong to the organizations, which are working groups. Now, working groups can be board members, change management team, and so on. Sometimes even the senior executive level teams could be working groups, not necessarily teams. So the interesting paradigm is that sometimes when I'm invited to go into an organization and deliver team coaching, what they do is they bring the board members or they bring the senior executive level team to be coached. What they don't understand at the very beginning is that they are not necessarily a true team. They're actually a working group. So now this might spark a little curiosity in you. What is the difference between a real team and working groups? And that's exactly what we are going to do in a minute. Now, before we do that, here's another question. If you can please send the answer to this question, what are different types of teams that you have heard about through the Zoom chat? Okay, what are different types of teams that you know of? Marketing teams, yeah, board, sales teams, management team, department teams. Wonderful, so many great ideas coming through. Now, from a team coaching context, I will share with you some different types of teams that are tangibly or that are clearly available in organizations. So, for example, we have pseudo teams. Very often when organizations set up teams, they think they are a team. They want to call themselves a team. But when we really look at the definition of teams or definition of an effective team, we often realize that they just want to be a team, but they are not a team. And then we have real teams, effective teams, high-performing teams, high-performing leadership teams, transformational leadership teams, and the list can go on. Now, these are some of the most common types of teams that we see in organizations. And the interesting thing is, coaches, and even for the organizations, I would say that oftentimes I just only see either pseudo teams or potential teams in organizations when I'm starting to work with them. In a minute, I will show you some criteria that would qualify a set of individuals into a team, just as a real team, not even an effective team. Very often when I go in and when I start initiate the team coaching engagement, most leaders in the team, as well as HR units and sponsors, become very surprised to realize that they do not have any teams at all in the organization. Recently, I received a contract from an organization which has quite a number of teams, like more than 10, 12 teams in the organization. And when we went through the assessment process and understanding of what is real team, they realized that they do not have any teams at all in the organization. So this is why I'm questioning, is team coaching the pinnacle of human resource development? Because organizations often do not even understand that they do not have real teams. Forget about effective teams or high-performing teams, they do not even have real teams in organizations. So talking about real teams, I would like to share with you a model on team development produced by Katzenbach and Smith, 1993, and this study is being used by many team development specialists around the world. So if you look at the performance, impact, and time effectiveness, along with where the teams are, there are working groups and real teams and between real teams and high performing teams, there's also effective teams. And let us now see how the difference between a working group to a real team. So what we could do is now to have a little bit of a discussion based on everyone's understanding. So the activity is going to be to discuss in smaller groups what you think is a working group versus a real team. That's the idea. And as you do it, I'm going to invite you, all of you, into little groups. And once you are done, please take notes and then brief notes, and then I will share with you the Mentimeter again, so you can send in your ideas so that all of us can see at the same time. Right, so let us create some breakout rooms. Okay. I'm sorry, I clicked on the breakout rooms too quickly. I think some of you are coming back. Let me create, we have about 50 people. Right, so there we are. Now we have our actual rooms. Sorry about that, coaches. I just clicked on open all rooms too quickly. Right, let us now go into our actual rooms.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's 3:30 here. A bit late for morning. yeah.
Okay, coaches, welcome back. Good to see all of you back. And I realize that some of you may have had technical difficulties with your microphone. Do not worry about that. It's all right, because you're going to go in details. Right, so some people are still coming back. Wonderful, coaches. Welcome back once again. Glad to see all of you back. And if you had problems with your microphone, do not worry about it. I hope that you may have taken this time at least to reflect on the difference between what is a working group as well versus what is a team, a real team. Right, so let me try and open the our little, here we go. If you open the Mentimeter, right, so if you start the Mentimeter, working group versus real team, feel free to type in and send us ideas, what you think is a working group and real team. So we have the very first idea coming through: short-term versus long-term. Chosen versus put together. Beautiful. Working group is equal to project. You can also send in ideas via the Zoom chat as well. Larger purpose versus specific purpose. One deliverable versus purpose. More positive experience in working groups. Project specific. Similar difficulties versus shared projects. Individual purposes versus group purpose. Project-based for working group. Real team is what makes an organization grow, whereas working groups make the growth of an organization stagnant. Working groups equals friends. Show real time equals cooking a recipe using different ingredients. Very, very creative coaches. Very proud to see these ideas coming through. Project-based for work groups. Management is needed in groups while in teams not necessary. Yeah, that's right, actually. Building rapport versus building rapport. Interesting ideas. Uplifting support versus outcome-based. Yeah, there's a lot of ideas coming through. Continue to send these ideas forward, and I will share all of this with you later on. Right, so let us continue since we have some grounds to cover today. So let us begin with understanding the difference between a working group and a real team. Now, when we talk about a work group, there is always a hierarchy. There is someone who is leading the team in terms of leadership. And then if you look at the real team, there is shared leadership. In other words, everyone in the team, in a real team, shares leadership. They take charge when it is necessary. And when we talk about a work group's purpose is equal to organizational mission. Vision and mission of the organization is what the working group is working on. For an example, if we talk about the board members of the organization or senior executive team of the organization, they work as a working group because their mission is equal to organizational mission. Whereas when we look at a real team's purpose is different from the broad organizational goal. They have a separate mission. For an example, if you talk about the sales team in the organization, their goal is not necessarily the organizational, the broad mission. They are of course contributing to that broad mission, but they have a different set of priorities that they work on. Their objectives are different. And in work groups, the individual work products. In other words, what that means is that if you're talking about C-level executives, everyone comes to the organization, everyone comes to the meetings, and then they talk about what happened in their departments. And based on those sharing, they create what needs to be done next. So basically, they come together to get an idea about what is happening among everyone. But once they go back, they take the insights and then go separate ways to actually do the production of services or products that they create. And on the other hand side, in real teams, they can't come together here and there. They need to be together all the time because the collective work is what produces. And then when we talk about work groups, they meet when necessary. For an example, boards meet bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly. And then if you look at senior executive team, they can call each other whenever they want it, or they can meet each other. However, they meet on regular intervals when it is necessary. Whereas when we talk about real teams, they need to solve problems that are ongoing, so they need to communicate all the time. They do have meetings, regular meetings, or set up meetings that are set. At the same time, they also meet concurrently, regularly, depending on the necessities, without waiting for that set or scheduled meeting to appear. Another interesting thing is that the measures of success of a work group has an influence on the business directly, whereas when we talk about the a real team, their performance directly affects, or the direct results of their work is their team's goal. In other words, it's not necessarily the organizational mission directly. Another important thing is that when a work group comes together, they discuss, they decide, and most importantly, they delegate. For an example, if you talk about the board of an organization, they of course discuss, decide what is best for the organization. And then once they go back, they delegate all the work to other individuals, and they do very little work themselves. On the other hand side, if it's a real team, what happens is they discuss, they decide, and also they do the real work. They don't necessarily delegate it to someone else. It is their own task that they need to work on. And the important part is members are only part of the team when they are together, exactly like the board members, exactly like the senior executive members. When they come together, they are a team, senior executive team. However, when they go back to their departments that they lead, they belong to separate teams. And real teams are not like that. They are always, at all times, they're members of the same team and they work together all the time. And another interesting thing about work groups is the group is task forced. Whereas when we talk about the real teams, they're task force too. However, they also focus on their process and most importantly, learning focus. Now, when we talk about from real teams to effective teams, high performance teams, what changes mostly is the learning focus and the process focus. This is very interesting. So in other words, if you go from a real team to the next level, there are so many other things on top of what you have just seen between work groups and real teams to be able to elevate to the next level. So let's look at the team development model from Katzenbach and Smith. As you can see, going from a work group to the real team, we have 8 significant characteristics that we need to focus on in depth. This is just a very brief understanding of it. And interestingly, when we talk about going from a real team to a high-performing team, can you guess how many entities or how many characteristics that we need to look at in terms of building a high-performing team or an effective team from a real team? There are about 10 significant characteristics that we need to look at, taking a real team to an effective and then to the next level, which is high-performing teams. It's very interesting. So the interesting paradigm I see in organizations is that often when I walk in, they are merely working groups or either a potential team or pseudo team. They are not necessarily a real team in industry definition. And I use this as a marketing strategy. I'm happy to share this with all of you so that if you're a team coach, you also can use if you would like to. So one of the things I usually do is to help them identify in this spectrum, these different spectrums, where they are in terms either their working group, real team, or high-performing team. And how I do that is by introducing different elements of effectiveness or high-performing leadership teams, and then checking them against how their performance. So for an example, if they perform below, they need concrete immediate actions. And if they're between 50 to 60, it requires significant improvement and so on. As you can see, this is a sample, and interestingly, most of the results that we receive working with actual organizations look like this. Most of the time, most of the components are below 50%. So there are certain assessments that we can use to produce these results. In Ignite Global, we have our own tool that we have created, and there are different commercial tools as well available. So if you use some of these and then show them that they're actually not a real team, not an effective team, not a high-performing leadership team, they start realizing the importance of development, because in most cases, they are not even aware that they are not there yet. Right. So we were talking about some interesting challenges that human resource development entities are facing. So I thought today, let's look at 3 interlinked components or interlinked challenges: managing relationships, conflict resolution, and retaining talented employees. So the reason is that often if you did not manage the relationships well, it creates conflicts. And if we created conflicts and if we let them escalate, obviously people start leaving. And in my personal experience working with lots of different HR units, often when I ask them what is one of the most challenging problems that you have right now, most of the time they say staff retention or turnover, high turnover of staff. Some organizations spend, like recently an organization told me they spent about $65,000 on a monthly basis because of the staff turnover on a regular basis just for the recruitment process. So some organizations, not only that they have a problem, but it also costs them a lot of money. So as a coach, as a team coach or as team development specialist, if you can come and combine these problems or combine these challenges together and provide a solution, they would really appreciate. All right, so let us look at some components, particularly these three challenges. So how would team coaching can solve or can address managing relationships, conflict resolution, and employee retention? So what we would do is, again, try to go back to the little groups and see if we actually can collaborate this time. I invite you to get engaged and have a conversation. And also at the same time, if you can find a spokesperson from the team, from your little team, to once we are back to share. I'm not going to invite all the groups because we have about 10 groups. May I invite one or two teams to share with us what you think is how does team coaching address managing conflict resolution, employee retention, and management of relationships? Let me create the groups again. First of all, let me unmute all of you. So now I have unmuted all of you, which means that you can unmute yourself. Right. The next thing I would do is create all the groups again and then invite all of you. Okay, welcome back, coaches. It's really nice to have all of you back, and I hope you may have had a good discussion with fellow coaches. So for now, just to keep peace here, I'm going to unmute all of you so that we will have no distractions. At the same time, may I invite one person from some of your teams to digitally raise your hand if you would like to share, so that I can invite you to unmute. What we're talking about is how would team coaching solve or address managing relationships, conflict resolution, and employee retention, which are interlinked challenges that organizations face. Okay, they are great. So we have Coach Carmen would like to share with us. So I'm going to invite you to unmute and please share with a brief of what happened in your discussion.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Coach Fernando. Actually, we got to some very interesting conclusions, which more or less everything revolves around building rapport and building trust with the team members. And I had Genia and Sarasvati with me. So we all three of us could come up with how could team coaching help everybody? Maybe identifying the strengths of certain team members so that you know who will perform better at which task. And in this way, around that, you can actually build the team, the work, and the project would actually, I mean, everybody would perform better and the project would move along faster. So basically that was in a nutshell for us.
Wonderful, Coach Carmen and team. In such a short time, it looks like you have covered a lot of grounds. Two things that stood out to me were building rapport and building trust. It's important, of course, and when we talk about building rapport and trust in team environment, it's actually different from how we build rapport and trust in one-on-one coaching. And we also see, I will take one more sharing. Let's hear from Karina.
Hi. Yeah, so in our group, I think we talked about how team coaching can help a team of people to get aligned or realigned to a common purpose, because sometimes conflicts can come out of just not being clear on common purpose. But also sometimes in team coaching, you allow people who might not feel like they have a voice to be able to share their views and their opinions. And also sometimes surface conflicts that are not said. So it could also put important topics on the table for discussion and resolution.
Absolutely, Karina. Thank you so much for sharing, and also team, thank you for that discussion. And a really interesting thought, like when you said conflict resolution, and that's really an integral component of team coaching. Very good. And then you also talk about alignment and realignment of purpose and common purpose. It's amazing. Really very good ideas. Wonderful coaches. Now, what is challenging is we understand these at theoretical level. How do we use best practices to actually enable these possibilities in our teams that we would work with? That's the important question. So what I'm going to do is share with you some best practices and ideas, as I promised, that you actually can go back into your environment, coaching environment, and use them in your team coaching today. So let us look at some ideas. One of the very first things that when we started, when we developed our professional coaching mastery certification for coaching teams and groups 3 years ago, which means even before ICF released the team coaching competencies, we have already created our team coaching training, got accredited by ICF, and then also we were delivering it and also providing coaching, providing team coaching to organizations. And one of the first things that I learned through my mentors is that, and also through the experience, is that often when we say as a team coach, we have a bigger responsibility with several individuals in our team. On top of that, also having to manage all of these relationships, the coach start to become a doer, or in other words, start trying to do things. And now that we have the understanding, the team coach also can be more directive in the approach of facilitation. Sometimes team coaches tend to be doing a lot of things. Now, doing a lot of things can be problematic sometimes. So I usually recommend being as a coach as one of the most important things in terms of team development. So I have a little video for all of you. Let us have a look. I'll make sure that I'm sharing my sound as well so that you can hear it. This video doesn't belong to me. I found it online from BBC Earth. Here we go. I believe you may have also reflected on what does this really mean? I think that's the most important question. So let us really reflect a little bit on what does that really mean to looking at this video. How do we relate to it? So when I saw this video or this concept a long time ago, I was really fascinated. The reason is that there was no human involvement and no one really told them how to create that little, by tapping with their tail, creating the mud around them as a circle, and then how the fish gets trapped and how they jump out of it, and then everyone is able to catch a fish much easily because they are working together as a team. Now, I believe that there's so much natural intelligence in this universe, in this world, and sometimes when we remain quiet, when we be and observe, this collective intelligence can come out beautifully. And this is something I often see when I try not to do a lot of things in a team coaching engagement and try to observe most of the time and step in only when it is absolutely needed. The leaders, the members of the team often create amazing breakthroughs for themselves and they create ways of moving forward. So I find being in team coaching role very, very important. Now, what do we learn from this particularly, like being instead of doing things? This comes under managing relationships where you build trust and provide catalytical space so that they can create their own, they can be their own catalyst. The coach doesn't need to be the catalyst all the time. For an example, in one-on-one coaching, you are an active partner of the conversation. You are always, you're responsible for continuing the discussion. However, if you're in a team coaching environment, you go back and forth. You go into the discussion only when it is absolutely necessary. So for an example, let us look at the ICF team coaching competency particularly. It says the team coach should ensure that communication from individual members of the team is directed to the team and consistently redirect communication within the team when it is directed to the coach. So basically, coach is not an active conversation partner in team coaching. The coach goes in and out as it is necessary. This is absolutely important. The reason being, when we talk about a team coaching engagement, embodiment of coaching mindset is absolutely important, which means after a certain number of contracted months, the team coach removes himself or herself from the team coaching engagement, and then the team continue to meet in a way that they continue the coaching conversations, because one of the responsibilities of the coach is also to embody that coaching mindset. Very important. So I was thinking about my childhood. I don't know if you have played pinballs, you realize that I'm an old person when you look at this. So where it's like a pinball, when this particular little ball comes and touches, we have the pins and we shoot it back to the members and it just starts bouncing back. In other words, coach's role is to really create a conversation among the team rather than coaches getting involved all the time and trying to direct often. And that's the idea, right? And then, so looking at that, this is talking about the embodiment of coaching mindset and building healthy relationships among team in a controlled environment so that we can start to manage the relationships. As you can see, talking about managing the relationship, creating trust is something that is surface level. And how do we do it? There are so many levels that we can go deep down and understand how to do it, right? So let us talk a little bit more about relationship management. Now, when we talk about relationship management, the quantum physics is very interesting. So let us look at the mysterious observer effect. Now, when I'm starting to explain this, you might feel like, where is Fernando going with this? I invite you to be very patient and then follow through the story. At the end, I promise you will realize why I'm talking about quantum physics right now. I do not know much about quantum physics. I was very, very fortunate that I came across this video. I will share the credits in a minute. Let us look at, now we're talking about managing relationships. Let us look at two individuals. These two, let's imagine these two smart, wonderful, intelligent ladies are coaching. So there's a coach and there's a coachee. For an example, let's say the lady with the short hair is the coach, and then the lady with the long hair is the longer hair is the coachee. So if you look at the relationships in this equation, as you can see, the coachee has a relationship to herself, and she has a relationship to the coach. So there are two types of relationship that exist in the coachee, looking at it from a surface level. There can be so many different other relationships, but most obvious two pre-relationships. And then if you look at the coach, interestingly, we also have a relationship coach to herself and then to the client. So in a situation like this, we look at 4 different relationships in the coaching conversation. Now let's move forward and look at a team coaching engagement and see what happens. So let's imagine the lady with the pen in hand and the lady in the middle with the white blouse as the coach, and then the other individuals as part of a team. So if you look at one of the team members, you can see there are 6 different types of relationships here. One is her own relationship to herself, and then 4 different, since there are 4 different colleagues in the room, she has 4 different relationships to these 4 individuals in the room. And then obviously she also has a relationship to the coach. And the coach, on the other hand side, has a relationship to herself, and then she also has relationships to these 5 individuals in the team. And then to make it a little bit interesting, if you look at all of them, how many relationships exist in a situation like this, it's about 36. Now this seems like interesting. In other words, when you're a team coach, you're not just only managing your own emotions, your own presence, and also you're one of your client, but you have several individuals, they have several relationships. So you need to keep an idea, where are the power plays? Who is having a conflict with who? Who is not talking? Why is that person not talking? Why is this person talking much? And what is the underlying emotion behind this person's talking? So we need to be super aware of what is going on. Now, I'm going to park this slide here with 36 relationships, and I'm going to look at it at a deeper level. As I mentioned, I came across this video by Art of Spirit Awakened YouTube channel. The name of the YouTube video is called The Observer Effect of Quantum Physics. Says your thoughts affect reality, and let's find out if it is true. I'm not going to share the video with you, it's a bit long, so I just took the screens and then I will share with you. So the idea is that if we looked at how matter behave, if you took a marble gun and then if you put a slit in between a barrier or a receiver, and then a slit in between. And then if we start shooting little marbles, what happens when we have one slit is the marbles go and hit the board at the back of the slit in one line. Very understandable. And then if you look at sending these little marbles through two slits, we start to see on the board, we have 2 marks of these marbles hitting the wall. Very simple. And physicists also wanted to find out what happens if the waves go through the slit. So they created a wave through using liquid, and then they started to notice that as the liquid moves forward as a wave, they also start creating that very same line that was the wave that's hitting the background with the most intensity. So they also wanted to find out what happens if we send the waves through 2 slits. They did exactly the same thing, and then they started to realize that the waves start interacting with each other, and as a result of that, they create a pattern of different intensity levels of these waves coming and hitting the background. So as a result, it actually creates a pattern of many different intensity points. Now they wanted to go deep and find out what happens if the same thing was done. Instead of using visible marbles, what if we shot electrons through a micro slot? So this is what they did, and there was no much of a surprise. When we shot the electrons through one slot, the background created a similar image to normal matter or visible matter. And then what they did was they also wanted to find out what happens if we use 2 slits. So they shot electrons through 2 slits, and then as a result, it behaved like a wave. It created all of these intensity points or lines. So it was very much understandable. And then they wanted to find out what happens. Why does it change? Why does it start behaving like a wave? So what they did was they brought an observer, and they placed the observer near the slit so that they can see what happens, how the electrons behave like that. Why do they behave like a wave? And surprisingly, the result was different this time. Instead of expected result, which is the waves of different intensity, it started creating 2 lines. In other words, it started behaving just like what happens with visible matter. So this was the non-observed expectation. And once we started to observe, we started to realize the 2 slits that were created were different. So what does this really say to us? The moment an observer becomes present, the tiny particles start changing their behavior. And now come to think of it, we are human beings, and we are made of trillions and trillions of these little particles. And if our particles are affected at a really molecular level, what happens to our body? Do we change as individuals? Now, taking this to the next level, as you can see, since there are 36 relationships, and these relationships get affected by the number of individuals in the room. So for each individual in the room, there are 5 relationships being affected because of the presence of this observer. So in this case, each participant has 5 observers looking at them, which means it multiplies the 36 relationships into 5, which means now all of a sudden we have 180 dynamics of relationships in the little group that we are working, or the team that we are working in. So earlier you were asking about a sub-coach. So now I'm getting to that topic now. Right, so there are so many things why we need to be so present in a situation like this to understand the underlying meaning, emotions and feelings of the people, the power play, individual agendas, coaches on internal process, and so on within this 180 different dynamics of relationships. Now, what is really interesting is that as one person, we only have 5 senses. Or we could, if we include the subconscious senses, we can say 6 senses. Interestingly, these are very limited in terms of being able to manage all of these relationship dynamics. What that means, that emphasize the importance of having another set of sensory for us for support. So this is where the sub-coach comes in to manage the complexity of that. Now, when you think about it, if you're not conducting team coaching or group coaching at the moment, you will think, right, I asked the right questions, provide the right feedback. But only until you really deliver your first team coaching engagement, you might not understand the gravity of it, or the amount of complexity of the relationships in a team that sometimes it's so overwhelming that we can be fully, like our senses can be fully overwhelmed. So this is why having a sub-coach is highly, highly recommended. So in my case, I do not conduct any team coaching without having a sub-coach present, because I am not able to grasp everything that is happening within a team engagement. And we can bring this to the next level by including a supervision coach as well, because sometimes even the team coach as well as sub-coach could miss things, relationship dynamics, important complexity in the whole engagement. So including a supervision coach can also be powerful in terms of adding value to your clients. So let us look at the role of a sub-coach if you might not have heard about the role of the sub-coach earlier. So one of the things that a sub-coach would do is observing the relationship dynamics between team members, observing the relationship between the team themselves, and then also the relationship between the team and the coach, which is important. And then potential opportunities the lead coach might miss out because of the complexity. For an example, if you're working with 8 people, the moment you turn to this side to talk to someone, there's something going on here. Always something is going on here, although they might be listening. So the sub-coach is able to actually pay attention to those areas. And identifying areas for potential further exploration. We might miss out something, and then the team coach might point out that we can discuss this, or we can extend our conversation on this part. And then also looking at the high level development of the team rather than surface level goals, because the team coach tends to get stuck with what is happening in the surface level. So the sub-coach can keep an eye on the aerial view of what is happening in the engagement. And also, of course, to note down anything that the team coach might miss out, so that later on they can discuss and enhance their delivery. So now looking at managing relationships through these different best practices I was talking about, there are 2 points that I would like to highlight here. Being able to assess the relationship with the team among themselves, also with the coach, and also identifying conflicts, power play, and team dynamics in the team. Right, so let's look at another component, which is use more directive approach. I'm not going to talk much about this. It's a very complicated topic, but I would like to use an analogy to share with you what we mean by being directive. So when we talk about being directive, I have seen some of the coaches that I provide supervision and also mentoring, that they are like the fire extinguisher. They run around putting fires off all the time in terms of what is happening in the team coaching engagement. Now, if we are trying to put off fire all the time, we are not being a good team coach, or we are not really adding value to our team. I would say a team coach should be like a tsunami warning system, whereas the team coach remains quietly, but when it is really important, when it is really appropriate, the coach takes actions. Coach recommends what to do, coach suggests best potential solutions, and even to the extent delivering those potential solutions. Like, let's say as a result of a team discussion, coach realizes some team building needs to be done, some change management needs to be done. If the coach is knowledgeable, experienced how to do this, with the permission, as well as having informed that the coach is now going to use a different hat, the coach can go ahead and do that themselves. In case if you're thinking, I want to become a team coach, but I just want to only do the team coaching part, I don't want to do team building activities, I don't want to do any other things like team training, team facilitation, change management, or anything like that, that's perfectly fine, as far as either you advise them to find the right professional or you build an alliance around you. So if you would like to become a pioneer, or if you would like to become the pinnacle of providing solutions to teams, organizations, I would say creating an alliance is very important. That way you can actually go as a team and help the organization solve their problems. So I would say be a tsunami warning system when it comes to being a team coach. So what do we learn from that? It's providing necessary solutions to develop the team in terms of managing relationship in team coaching environment. And do you also know that the coach, him or herself, can sit or attend in the team meetings while they're having discussions? The reason being, when they are in a different environment where the coach is not necessarily facilitating the entire process, when they have their own space, you start to see the dynamics. You see the power play, you see hidden agendas, you see some people are disappointed, some people don't want to talk, some people agree, there is no real commitment, things like that. So so when the coach sits in the team meetings, which is probably a very new idea to most of you if you're only familiar with one-on-one coaching, because once the coachee, individual coachee leaves the room, we only provide accountability, checking on the client, if the client reported or something like that, but we don't go beyond that. But in team coaching, it can be important, if it is necessary, for the coach to sit for the team meetings. Not necessarily all the team meetings, but at least the main ones to get an idea. In my case, I also invite my sub-coach to sit with me in the team meetings to get a better understanding, better idea, and then also have some conversations among myself and the sub-coach so that we understand the situation better. Another interesting thing is that in one-on-one coaching, when the client steps out of the office, they're in their own world, they are dealing with their relationships, they're creating their accountability, achieving their actions, or they're taking actions. In team coaching, however, we invite the external accountability providers, people who depend, the entities or stakeholders that team has to depend on. For an example, sometimes a team may want to publish something that is related to their work. It may involve someone from the graphic designing team or publishing team or something like that. And if there's a lack there, doesn't matter how good the team is, they may not be able to accomplish that task. So bringing in one person from outside into the team coaching environment and helping that person to understand how important it is for them to produce that work or send out that publication is part of team coaching. So the team coach has the ability to invite different stakeholders, of course, with proper permission, confidentiality agreements, permission from the sponsor, HR team, and all of that. So bringing them in is extremely valuable for the internal team to get a broader idea or create more successful outcomes, bringing other stakeholders into the team conversations or team coaching conversations. So this is another thing that a team coach could do if it is necessary. And then also, I know that some of you are very fond of using different models, different psychometric tests. So there's plenty of grounds for us to use different types of psychometric tests and assessments in team coaching as well. And as you know, for an example, using DISC for conflict resolution can be very, very powerful and valuable. So when we talk about team coaching, as I mentioned earlier, the conflict resolution is an integral part of the team coaching. Doesn't necessarily mean that a team should not have any conflicts at all. If a team doesn't have enough conflicts, or if the team doesn't have healthy amount of conflicts, that means there's something dysfunctional about the team. Every successful team has healthy amount of the conflicts, and they know how to peacefully work through the conflict. Now, this is what is important, and that is also the job of the coach, or the coach to act as a catalyst of resolving those conflicts. All right, so let us look at one last ICF team coaching competency, which is it is also important for the coach to understand and clarify the collective feelings, perceptions, concerns, beliefs, and hopes of the team. Now, for this, I'm going to use a very, very simple leadership model that most of you already know about. Let us look at trust and ownership leadership model. When we talk about this area, the first quadrant, as you can see, there's very high ownership, but no one trusts each other. So if I may ask, what is the outcome like here? It's most of the time failure, because people trust each other, but no one does the job because they think someone else would do it because they all trust each other. And then if you look at the next quadrant, interestingly, this is an area where there's very low trust and very low ownership. When this happens, there's very little control. And then if you look at the next quadrant, which is high ownership, so everyone wants to do something, but no one trusts each other. In organizations like that, or in teams like that, sometimes two people are doing the same task, trying to get to the same outcome, but on separate paths, which means that they're actually wasting their time, resources, and energy. So in situations like that, there can be conflicts because they do not trust each other enough. They only take the ownership of wanting to achieve something with ego and like somewhat like I am the one who's doing everything kind of mentality. And I think now it comes, it's obvious that the last quadrant is where the magic happens. Everyone trusts each other, at the same time also take the ownership. So this is where we have space for synergy and innovation. And most teams are trying to get to this quadrant so that actually they can create some valuable outcomes. So now this trust ownership model is very much compatible with what we were talking about earlier, using an emotional container to create this synergy and innovation where we hear the feelings, hope, beliefs, concerns, and perceptions in a very safe environment, everyone being able to understand each other. So if we can create this atmosphere as a team coach in the units that we work with, we will be able to help these individuals to get to the synergy and innovation area of trust and ownership model. And this is very important. And as you can see, it's a direct ICF competency. And as you can see, we are talking about relationship building. We are talking about conflict resolution as well as staff turnover or retention. So you can see addressing feelings, hopes, perceptions, concerns, and beliefs are absolutely important in terms of helping the team to create that synergy and innovation. So again, if we summarize it, that means we have provided space for team members to be heard, which is very important. And we also increase the trust and ownership of each team member among themselves. Right, so as I said, we have limited time today. So I have been looking at some of the interesting best practices, most practical best practices that I can talk about along the lines of these three interesting challenges human resource units face on a regular basis. And the interesting thing is that if I go through all the whole list of challenges that human resource units are facing, interestingly, team coaching can provide solutions to many of the challenges that they are facing. So this is what I meant by taking the steering wheel. I'm not in any way saying that team coaching is truly the pinnacle of human resource development or organizational development. I believe that to a certain extent, as a coach, as a team coach, with the right resources around it, with the right knowledge, right skills, and also our alliances, we would be able to provide collective smart solution to organizations which they would appreciate more, rather than having to hire 10 different consultants for 10 different things, because it's much easier for them when everyone is when one person or one unit can provide all of these services. The reason being that way, the lead coach or the coaches or the team development experts who are involved in the projects understand the bigger picture in terms of achieving the team's goals as well as organization's goals. So I would say, why become a group or team coach? If you're a coach, if you're looking at developing yourself to the next level and become a team coach, this is a good opportunity for you. And also if you're a leader in an organization, and if you would like to understand the team dynamics, conflict resolution, relationship building, and various other things that happen inside a team environment, becoming a team coach, team or group coach also could be valuable. Please allow me to share quickly our program, if you do not mind. I will not take much time. One of the reasons why I would say taking a team coaching qualification right now is valuable is because there are not many team coaching qualifications available in the world right now. So if you qualify yourself as a group or team coach right now, you could become a pioneer. As you remember, I mentioned earlier, team coaching is where one-on-one coaching 25 years ago. So you have huge potential to develop yourself and become a pioneer in the team and group coaching industry. And when you become a team coach, you can provide multiple services so that you actually can become a team development specialist where you can solve a lot of problems. So this means that instead of getting one-on-one clients or getting like 2 or 3 team members to do one-on-one coaching, if you can work as a team development specialist, you will be able to provide much range of services, which means your income, your duration of the engagement with the organization would also be much more profitable and fruitful for you as a team coach. Another interesting thing is that often when we talk about team coaching engagements, it runs at least 4 to 6 months because of the complexity of the situation or the team development, and on top of that also the idea of helping them to create the embodiment of coaching mindset so that you can disengage from that. This really takes time. Because of this reason, you usually acquire long-term large contracts with organizations, and it really reduces your marketing. If you work as a one-on-one coach at the moment, for you to get 10 clients, you need to really extensively work to get all the 10 clients. But if you manage to get an organization as your client to provide team coaching and team development modalities, your marketing becomes significantly reduced because it's one client, but you may be coaching 10 people, 15 people, depending on the need. So as I mentioned earlier, Ignite Global created professional coaching mastery certification for coaching groups and teams about 3 years ago. And so we certify coaches with the ICF ACSTH certification as certified professional group and team coaches. If you're interested in it, we have an upcoming batch starting on 19th of June. And at the moment, it's on the final early bird fee. But today I would like to share with you a very special International Coaching Week discount, which is $2,400 from $2,600. And it's live, full online delivery. So you can attend from a sensible time zone. If you're interested, you won't be able to join this. You won't be able to avail this special discount via our website because it's already passed. However, if you would like, if you're interested, feel free to send me an email before 9th of June. If there will be seats, we only have few seats left. I think 3 or 4 seats left. If those 4 seats remain, I'm very happy to welcome you to this program. And if you're wondering, other team coaching certifications tend to be quite a higher price, I would say. The reason why we can provide this certification at this rate is because I am based in Thailand, Bangkok, and the cost of living here is much more affordable compared to certain developed countries. Not in any way that we compromise the quality of the delivery or the training or the content. So those who would like to receive the CCE certificate, Continued Coaching Education Certificate, please scan this barcode that the QR code you see on the screen. I do not have the link right now, but I will send you the link via email as well if you would like to receive the certificate. And if you're watching this online at the moment, if you haven't attended this session, that's perfectly fine. You're welcome to watch this video until 16th of June. The cutoff date of these CCE units is the 16th June. We will send you all the certificates if you registered via email on or before 16th. If you would like to inquire about the certificate, please only inquire on 17th of June if you haven't received the certificate. I hope that this time we spent together has been useful for you. Thank you so much. I do not think that we have time to answer any questions. If you would like to personally talk to me, feel free to stay back in the session. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. So I'm going to leave all of you with the question, is team coaching the next pinnacle of human resource development? And I would like to thank once again Adelina Stefan from Advanced Talent Training and Consulting for inviting us to deliver this session today. And I would like to thank all of you for being present and showing up being purposeful and intentional to develop yourself as a coach, as a team coach, and as a leader. Have a wonderful rest of the week and wish you all the very best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye for now. I am Fernando from Ignite Global. Thank you.